Welcome once again to Sacred Time and Sacred Place. I invite you to take the next couple of minutes to find a comfortable seated position. We'll start on the floor, but then we'll quickly stand up. So if you want, you can have a chair nearby. You can be seated on cushions, seated on a bolster if you have a bolster, a yoga bolster. Or if you need to, you can go around somewhere in your house and see if you can find a belt. Perhaps it's a yoga belt with rings, or maybe you have a belt that wraps around your jacket or your bathrobe even. And so we're going to be doing some tie stretches holding on to the belt. And if you don't have a belt and you can't think of where you might have one, that's okay. It's not crucial, but it's a nice prop to help us to stabilize our joints and our muscles and our bones, and to have very effective supported stretches. So, and if you have a yoga chair or a chair nearby that you could sit up against right now, that's nice. I'll show you. I have two blankets here, and they're folded so that they fit underneath the chair, and I can sit with about a third of my thigh, third of the top of my leg on the bolster so my knees can relax down, and I can use the back of the chair as some feedback to how I'm sitting. So it takes a little bit of adjustment, and know that when you use props, it always does take a little bit of adjustment to get them perfectly right as best as possible. So we'll just take a minute or two for folks to gather and for you to gather what you need, and we'll do a little bit of a centering. So if you already have found your seat, take a moment to turn inward and find your breath. And it's a good idea to take a couple of breaths in through your nose if possible, and maybe take a sip of breath through your mouth, and exhale out through your mouth, and sound out, and release any old stale energy, release any worries or concerns, or just to begin to let go. And just by that exhaling out, it sends a signal to our nervous system to calm down. And so as you practice this, just exhaling out through the mouth breath, and just notice then, does your nervous system calm down? Does your heart rate calm down a little bit? Does it help you, the sound of the breath, the feeling of the breath, to begin to let go? Breathing in fresh prana, fresh energy, and exhaling out the old, exhaling out whatever it is that we don't need. And after a couple of breaths, exhaling out through your mouth, just see if you can breathe in and out through your nose for a couple of breath cycles. Maybe even holding the breath for a few seconds on the inhalation. Exhaling it all out so the navel moves back towards the back body. And then perhaps holding the breath there for a couple of seconds. And then breathing in again, a nice, easy, drawn breath. Filling up all the way to the heart chest, even the armpit chest and the back of the neck. Filling up the back body, the kidneys and the adrenals, and exhaling out. Holding that breath to your capacity for a few seconds. then just being aware of your natural breath as it moves freely and effortlessly through your body. Just trace the breath from the tip of the nostrils, moving back to the back of the brain, down the back body. Exhaling the navel in. Breathing in again, filling up the belly, filling up the ribs, filling up the lungs. And exhaling down. So tuning in to your breath, coming home to this precious present moment where all things are possible. And this coming home, using the tool of just being aware of the breath, you can access any time throughout the day. And you begin to recognize the change that it can invoke in your spirit, mind, and body just by taking a pause, just by taking a couple of breaths. And whether it's exhaling out through your mouth with a sound, or coming to that breathing in and out through your nose if possible. I know some of us, especially with allergy seasons, it's difficult, but see, even if it feels like congested, just take sips or streams of breath all the way up to the top of your nose and then straight back to the base of the skull. Dropping into your back body, everything you've done to get to this point. So stabilizing the body, sitting up nice and tall, inviting the sits bones to release into the earth, inviting the legs to release down, so that the trunk of the body can gently lift up out of the legs. Roll the shoulders back. If you have your chair at your back, use the chair for contact. And notice how that shifts and changes when you breathe, or when you collapse and you sit back up nice and tall and straight again, alert, yet comfortable. Feel the feedback from the back of the chair if you have a chair back there. So our mindful movement practice today, we'll come to standing, we'll do a couple of breaths of joy, we'll do a couple of Thai stretches, we'll do some standing poses with or without the chair, a couple of balance poses, and then we'll come down onto our back and do some leg stretches, and we'll go until 3:30 when I'll ring the bell again 3 times. After a nice, well-deserved shavasana, or relaxation, which I invite you to participate or partake in any or all of these exercises. I will fully admit that sometimes I have something on in the background and I move around because I have things to do. And I make a decision. Am I going to drop whatever I'm going to do and fully participate in whatever's presented to me? Or do I have to do what I have to do and just kind of let it roll in the background? So you make that choice and see if you can commit to it. And do the best that you can. Always do your best. And do what you need to do for your body. If you find that organically, that you find something else that while I lead some sort of movement practice, something else comes along that you want to do, feel free. And this is your practice. I'm going to guide you. And I have, just so that you know, I've got like 30 years of yoga teaching experience and mindful meditation and movement. And so I still study with my teacher 2 or 3 times a week on Zoom these days. And so I'm continually learning and continually practicing with a long-term concerted effort, and I'm continuing to learn more and more about myself. And so what happens is that my It becomes like a medicine cabinet for me. So what do I need today? And then I pick and choose from what I know to that will shift whatever it is that I need that day. Like I go into a medicine cabinet and grab my herbals, and I commit to that. And then I also just let it go and see what happens. So I hope that I can stock your medicine cabinet. And through your own practice and your own experience and a commitment to yourself in this really crucial practice in this day and this age where we need a contemplative practice and a mindful approach so that we don't get caught up in all the fucking bullshit, excuse my language, and all the stuff, oops, that's going on out there. So, here we go. Whew, couple of deep breaths, and Hatha Yoga Uttasana. Here and now begins the practice of yoga. And the teachings of yoga. And so, with a sense of joyous exploration, and for me, it is a joyous exploration. So, what more of a joyous exploration can it be for me to dive into this completely new platform of live stream yoga, leaving it also completely up to the universe as to who and what shows up and what happens. So we're going to come to standing. So if you're seated on the ground, if you were going to come to standing, you might always just go to one side and kind of get yourself up, one side or the other. And so knowing that, let's try a different way of standing up. Unless you need to kind of make your way up using your arm as a kickstand, but we'll use both arms as a kickstand. So I'm going to move my chair back, and then in order to come up, I'm going to come onto my hands and I'm going to lift my hips, and then I'm going to give a little hop with my feet, and here we are. Ta-da! So I got to adjust my camera here, lift you up, pick you up, lift you up, and so maybe then I'll move back here a little bit so you can see me. Here we go. Hi out there. So take hold of your strap if you have one. If you don't have a strap, let me do that again, that sitting up process. So you're seated, so here's your seat, you're seated on the floor, and you cross your legs and you can lean back and get some momentum and start to hop up. So bring your hands alongside of your knees, and then you can come forward into the table position first, and then give a little hop, and then stand up. So practice that throughout the day, if any time, because most of us probably don't spend a whole lot of time sitting on the floor, but in the practice of yoga, we do spend lots of time down, potentially on the floor. So take hold of your belt, and if you have a yoga belt, you want to double it up, especially if it has a metal ring on the end of it, because otherwise you might bonk yourself in the head with that metal ring. And then we're going to hold on to the belt like this. So hip width apart, or shoulder width apart, and then take hold of the belt, but bring your thumb to the fingers side. So instead of grasping the belt like this, you're going to grab it like this. And even that might be an interesting experience. And then start with the belt out in front of you and push out with the belt. So if you don't have a belt, then just use your arms and the same instructions will be applicable. So don't worry if you don't have a belt. And actually if you do want a belt, I have plenty of belts. Just private message me and I'll figure out how to get one to you. So I have a whole box of belts that I've collected over the years. So holding the belt out in front of you, push out and feel how you round the back and the shoulders spread, and the shoulders move away, the shoulder blades spread. So pull back into the shoulders. So even as I'm pushing out, I'm pulling back. And then I'm going to take a minute to look down at my feet and have my feet as best as possible facing forward and the eye of my knee facing my toes. And then, so for standing, I'm going to lift up my kneecaps, but don't push the knees out. So if you need to have a little micro bend in the knee. So I'm not going to push my knees out because see how that overarches my back. So I'm going to bring the knees in and I'm going to squeeze the butt a little bit, but then spread the sits bones. Squeeze the belt, but then spread the sits bones. So you have this almost an internal rotation of the legs. And then lift the toes up a little bit just to feel the action of the arches lifting. See how that feeds the quadriceps. So as much as possible, I want you to practice this Tadasana. So when you're standing, notice how you stand, because we tend to stand like on one side or one or the other. And then we always stand that way. So just notice how it is that you are standing and try to adjust so the eye of your knee is facing your toes are facing forward. If your feet turn out a little bit, you want to still try to find balance on the four corners of the feet. Or if your knees turn in a little, if your feet turn in a little bit, also same thing. Try to find that balance. So do not strain your knees or your hips. Find Tadasana for yourself. Some people stand with their feet together, but that tends to knock up my knees, so I spread my feet a little. So we'll spend some time establishing the legs. Come back to that as much as you can. Notice. And then take the belt, pull the belt apart, and feel how that activates your triceps, your outer arms. And then, so like I said, you can push out, but then just to feel the opposite movement, but then you want to draw back in, and then bring the arms up over your head. And press the arms up, even as you pull them down into the sockets. So you don't keep riding the shoulders up to the air. Pull down and break that belt. Waist back, navel back. Arms possibly right alongside the ears. You don't need to go past the ears. And have the arm extension come all the way from your legs, all the way up your arms to the straight wrists. Notice if your wrists cock, and have your wrist be level. Don't cock your wrist. Always rest if you need. So Urdhva Hastasana, upward facing arms. Pull the belt. And then side stretch. Inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. Pull with your lower arm and push with your upper arm. Inhale, exhale. To the side. Pull with your upper arm and pull with your lower arm and push with your upper arm. Go to the side, each side one more time. Long side back. Don't round the back. Don't round your ribs. Have a sense of extending your ribs. So like I said before, you want to have it be like a ski hill, not like an ant hill. Left side. Back up again. Readjust your hands, wrists level, right? And the next time you go to the side, open up. From the bottom up. From the right side, roll around to the left. And then back to center. Over the other side, and then open up. Take care to not turn the hips as best you can. One more time to each side. Extend and twist. Back to center. Extend the arms and open up with a twist. Beautiful. And then push the arms down, pull them up, push the arms down, pull them up. You can look up if it feels comfortable. When you look up, instead of feeling like you're pulling the arms back, push the arms forward. Balance the weight on the feet so it's not all on the heel. Ah, nice little crack of the back. Great. And so then you're going to take the belt and then bend your right elbow and drop the belt behind your back. So if you don't have a belt, you can do the same thing. Just drop the right arm behind the back, pat yourself on the back, just for showing up. Maybe just for even getting up out of bed and getting dressed today. Pat yourself on the back. And then your left hand, thumb facing down, bend the elbow and walk the hand up the back and take hold of the belt. And then readjust your wrist so your wrist is not cocked. And now you can't see your wrist, so you've got to feel it. Use the feeling of your back to see that your wrists are level. Maybe you can even touch fingers. Great. Roll your bottom arm and your shoulder back. Take the head back. Pull on the belt. Both, like you're going to try to pull the belt apart, and your upper arm can guide your head, because the back of your head wants to touch your wrists on your upper arm. Go ahead and take a side stretch, a little bit of a back bend. When you back bend, quadriceps lift even more. Lift the kneecaps from below, from the shin, and then a forward bend. Wider feet. Lead with the heart. It'll give you feedback so you don't round the back. Keep the back long and straight. Keep even a little bit of a back bend in the back. So only go as far as you start to round the back. So some of us, our forward extensions are only go a couple of inches. It depends upon the length, basically the length of your hamstrings, how far you can go down. So, but as soon as you start to round the back, lift back up, lift the heart chest. Lead with the elbows to come back up. Perhaps one more time, a little bit of a back bend, and then a forward bend. Inhale all the way back up. Take a breath here. Shoulders back. Whew. Normalize the blood pressure with your breath. And then take the belt in your left hand. Let go of it on the right hand. Walk the arm down the back. And then externally rotate that left arm. Externally rotate to bring the elbow up and back. And take a moment here, because this is a whole other side. Take the head back. And thumb facing down. Shoulder back. Thumb facing down, shoulder back. And then walk the elbow, or walk the hand up the back. And take hold of that belt. Completely different side. This side is, I'll even call it almost unconscious. Ugh. So, here I can only go about this far before I start to strain my shoulders. And it just is the way that it is. Keep rolling that back shoulder, the right shoulder now back, and shoulder blade down the back. Pull the belt. Resist. And levelize your wrist behind your back so your wrist is flat and not cocked. Right? So, since this side is my guru, it's the one I really have to pay attention to. So, to get into it, externally, you're going to thumb down and roll the arm back and then walk the arm up very safely, right? And then breathe here. Break the belt, pull it apart, head back, elbows moving away from each other, side stretch, ooh, inhale up, exhale down. The back of my head is pressing gently against my hand, upper hand, and my upper hand is pressing gently against my head. And then I just want to do a forward bend here, a little bit of a back bend, and then a forward bend. Elbows moving away from each other. So this side is different. Only go so far in your forward extension as when you start to round the back. So for me, I have fairly good Uttanasana, fairly good flexion in my hips. And I will say that it has improved greatly with practice, regular practice. So I'm going to come forward again. Elbows moving away from each other. Shoulder blades still down the back. So watch when your shoulder blades start to pop out. Lead with the heart, not the head. For the last time, one more time, keep the weight evenly distributed on your feet. There tends to be a lot of weight that goes to your heels, so lean a little forward so more weight comes to the front of your feet. And then inhale the breath to come back up. And let go of the belt. And come back to Tadasana. You can still be holding onto your belt in your hand. Externally rotate. Turn the arms from the inside out. Open up that heart chest. But then take the waist back and the navel back. So take care not to just push the ribs forward. So you want to have your front ribs and your back ribs level. Lift up, especially from the floating ribs, all the way up to the armpit chest. Roll the shoulders back, head back. Balance the head as best you can so it's right over the bowl of the pelvis. Center of the bowl of the pelvis, center of the head, center of the heart, center of the throat. If you dropped a plumb line from the heavens, it would be straight up and down. So now we're going to take your belt, and this is an interesting kind of fun one. So if you don't have one, really what you can just do is kind of take Tadasana and keep working Tadasana. This is Tadasana. Level. Balancing the head. Tadasana is a balance pose. But if you have a belt, take the belt, turn around here and there. So hopefully you can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay. Hopefully you can hear me. So I'm going to take the belt and I'm going to bring it all the way up to my armpit chest, underneath the armpits. And I look down and see that both ends of the belt are level. So it's nice to have a nice long belt. The stiffer your shoulders, the longer belt that you're going to want to have. So do the best you can with what you have. And then I'm going to flip the belt behind me. And then adjust it. So my belt, so there's no twists and turns in the belt. And bring it so it's right at the center of your spine. And so it's going to hopefully stick there and not slide. And then I'm going to bring my hands down and take hold of both sides of the belt and draw down. Oh, and roll my shoulders back. It's like heaven. So encouraging the muscles of the neck to release down the back. So if you have any kind of neck compression, dystonia, perhaps, fused cervicals or just bulging cervicals, you're going to really love this. So I'm pulling down the back. So if you don't have one, just watch and imagine how this might feel. I don't know if you can, but try. You can cross the belt from behind and pull down. And then if you want to walk throughout the day, they sell these, something like this on, I've seen it, but really not quite like it, but sort of. They sell things like this. I've seen them on the internet these days. You can, if you have a belt, you can actually pull that belt. So this is why a yoga belt is nice. And then you can walk around like this, and your shoulders are back, and my shoulder blades are down, moving down the back. So when you pull the belt, I'm going to let this go, but I would walk around all day like this. When you pull the belt down, and then what you want to do is gradually, so that you're feeding this beautiful freedom of these upper shoulder muscles. Sometimes you might need to adjust, so you pull it in so it's more up in that space between the neck and the shoulders. Tadasana. Find Tadasana. Notice the difference between when you push the ribs forward and hyperextend or when you're collapsing. So you want to be right in the middle of that. Bottom tips of the shoulder blades moving towards each other. Top of the spine spreading. And breathing. Take the head back. So notice if your head juts forward. And pull, bring it back. So it's balancing really exquisitely. And to let go, you might not want to let go. But to let go, gradually release the pull of the belt. Gradually. And then see if you can't maintain that posture. Come back to Tadasana. Roll the arms open a little bit. So I roll my arms open, my upper arms, and then turn my lower arms so my fingers face my legs and extend out all the way through, even the spaces between your fingers. So see if you can maintain and remember, have the muscle memory of the pull of the belt before you release it completely. You may want to take the belt again and again. Adjust so the belt is up a little bit more close, a little closer to the neck, not right up the neck. Pull it down again. Feel the fullness of the front and the back ribs when you breathe. Feel the breath in the back body. Gradually let it go. Find Tadasana from the feet all the way up. Feet, equal weight, arches lifted. Quadriceps active by lifting from underneath the kneecap, not just above the kneecap. Squeeze your butt, but then spread the sits bones. Squeeze the butt and then broaden. Then levelize the hips, levelize the ribs, levelize the shoulder, levelize the brain, and go back and do it again, methodically. Soft gaze, one pointed. Your drishti helps you concentrate and stay focused. Your drishti is your gaze. Great. Release it. See if you can maintain the muscle memory. And then if you have a belt, we're going to take forward extension again. And this is an Iyengar thing. Iyengar thingy. That's the style of yoga that I study and teach the most. It is a practice an Iyengar teacher wants to bring consciousness to every cell of your body and wants to make the yoga practice accessible to everybody. Even a quadriplegic can practice Iyengar yoga and practice, because yoga is about awareness. And so I work at the Courage Center, and we work with quadriplegics, we work with blind people, people with MS, and we use all these kinds of props to help them to be conscious of their different parts of their body, even parts of their body that are so challenged that it can't even move, or maybe even it's amputated, and you have that phantom pain. So you bring awareness to all these parts of the body and start to wake up. And then we can wake up and be more compassionate in the world. So you're going to take the belt right at your low. This is odd, but again, if you don't have a belt, you can just watch, and then you're going to want to get a belt, maybe, and do the posture. Listen to kind of what I'm saying, and use your hands to guide what you might be doing with the belt. So underneath, the belt is going to be at my sacrum, below the sacrum, and then I'm going to take it underneath my thighs, and then I'm going to lift up and go forward and spread the sits bones. And again, your forward extension might only be this far, but at the risk of being risque, I'm going to turn my back, and I'm going to show you. So I'm going to pull and then go down. Pull the belt and spread the sits bones. Pull the belt and spread the sits bones. And then extend up out of your hips. Bring the weight more to your ball mound side of your feet. And so it's a hinging at the hips. I'm leading with my heart. And then when you come back up, take a breath, you can release it, and if you want, you can take another Uttanasana, forward extension. So from behind, so I have the belt right at my sacrum, and I'm bringing it around. I'm feeding it underneath me, and I'm going to pull up and out. So what I'm doing is I'm creating more space in my hip joints and more stability. And then to go forward, take my Tadasana, active legs. Always build from the bottom up. And then pull on the sits bones and hinge. Remember that drinking bird? That wooden drinking bird that goes doot, 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 doot. Lift up the heart. So you want to be feeling this more in the legs, not in the back, because it's a leg stretch. It's a hamstring stretch. See if you can free up the belly. No. You want to be able to breathe freely. You want all of your organs in your abdominal cavity to still have their own place, their own space, their own function. So I'm not crunching any amount. And then inhale to come back up, and you can release that belt. And then stand once again in Tadasana for a repose. Repose, find a soft, steady gaze. Take active Tadasana, extending all the way through the fingers. Open up the armpit chest, upper arms roll out, inner arms roll forward. Find a balance. Shoulder blades moving towards each other, bottom tips. Top of the spine spreading. Balance the head. Go for the feeling. Your thoughts and are towards feeling, not judging. Beautiful. How's that? So we'll take a couple of standing poses. Take your legs wide. If you have a yoga mat, great. If you don't have a yoga mat, you don't need one. We're going to go without, we'll go even without the chair. Take your legs wide. Turn your right foot in. So if you have a yoga mat, it helps you so your feet don't slide. I really like to practice on a wood floor. And you can use the lines of the wood floor to adjust your legs. So we're going to take Trikonasana. My stand is shorter here than it normally would be because I'm on my rug and I don't want to slide. So I'm going to hinge at the hips. Turn my right foot out, my left foot in, and hinge at the hip. Hinge and come up. I'm going to take your right hand and roll your thigh from the inside out to hinge. Hinge. And your left hand at your pelvis, rolling your pelvis forward. So I'm hinging, but my side body is still staying long. And then wherever my hand comes down, when I start to round, stop there. Open up the heart, chest, head back. Pressing evenly into my back foot. And then pressing through the back foot to come up. So my back leg is active. Inhale to come up. Keep the arms out. Turn. Left foot turns in. Right foot turns out. Lift that left hip up again. And then hinge. So right hand. Right pelvis. Rolling my pelvis forward. Hinge. So I'm not rounding my side body. I'm extending my side body, feeding it into this extension, and then add the upper arm. Right arm, right hand, or right pelvis rolls forward. Extend all the way up through the spaces between the fingers and roll open. And then strongly into the back leg. Inhale to come back up. And then turn to the other side again. We'll take Virabhadrasana, the warrior pose. So you're going to turn your back foot in slightly and your front foot out, and then bend, touch and go. Again, normally I would be much longer and wider, but I'm not today. Today I'm taking a short stance, so there. Only let your knee go as far as your ankle. And then levelize the pelvis again as best you can. And then add the arms. Press down into the air. Stretch out through the fingers. And look proud like a warrior. Virabhadrasana. We're not holding our shoulders up. We're pressing down my underarm. And then inhale to come back up strongly. Turn to the other side. Adjust the hip. Touch and go. Bend. So press through that back leg. Press. Right foot turned in slightly. Left foot, my knees facing my toes. And bend the knee towards the pinky toe side. To bend the knee, roll the leg out. And then when the knee comes over the ankle, levelize the pelvis again, add the arms. Proud warrior, head back. Chunk of my body, guess what? Tadasana. Stretch out through that back arm. You're going to the left, but the warrior knows everything that they're behind us. So we look forward, and behind us is all taken care of. And straighten the leg. Turn back to center. Turn to the other side. We'll finish up combining Trikonasana with Virabhadrasana in Parsvakonasana, extended side angle. So you want to bend the knees and extend out like Trikonasana and roll from the bottom up. Take your back hand, upper hand, and pull your hip around and roll your left pelvic rim forward. And then add the arm either up or over. Easy does it today. Knee right over ankle. Open up. Straight arm, no arm. Arm over the ear, yogi's choice. Arm behind the back. Shoulders away from the ear. And then you can take your hand onto your knee and press yourself back up. Woo! Breathe here. Before going to the other side, take a pose, repose. Then turn. Left leg turns out, right foot turns in, touch and go a few times. And strong back leg. Extend out of your trunk. And then take your left elbow to the left knee, right hand behind you to pull your hip around. Pull this hip around. Roll your right pelvis around, and then open up. Shoulders belong to the back, not the ears. Up, over, no arm or behind you. And strongly from the back leg, you can use your bottom arm to lift yourself back up. Tadasana. Breathe. Notice the energetics that you've shifted around. Levelize. Pelvis, weight of the feet, balancing the head. Levelize. And when your breath is normalized and you don't feel pulsing in the face, soft eyes with the gaze. Balance pose. So we're preparing, this is the last standing move. We'll come down onto the ground and we'll do a little bit of something before we take rest. So our balance pose. Take your right foot out, tree pose, Trikonasana. So first, Tadasana in the legs. Lift the kneecaps. Don't push the knees out. See how that sticks the butt out. So drop the sits bones. Tailbone moves in to the front of the body. Tailbone. Curve. The little tailbone is curled. So you want to curl that tailbone underneath you so you're not poking out. Tailbone. And so from that Tadasana, you can start with your hands on your hips. And bend the right knee and just start to balance on that left leg. This might be your tree pose today, a baby seedling tree. Or you can take so you're not pulling your hip around. Just bend the knee, keep your hips level, and balance. So I'm not pulling my knee around because I want my hips to still stay level. My ribs level. Maybe your tree is above the knee. Maybe it's way up to the top of the thigh. Where's your tree today? Maybe it's just balancing on one foot. Breathe. Grow roots from your standing leg. Your left leg is your standing leg. Grow roots. Add the arms if you choose. Woo! Blowing in the wind tree. As if your arms begin down at your legs, lengthen up through the side body. Press your leg into your foot and your foot into your leg. Flush out all your lymphs here. Your lymph system needs a pump. And then let go. Foot back to the earth. Minimal shifting. Just come to Tadasana. Feel. So you're going for feeling. No judging. And then take the hands to the waist and drop the weight over to the left leg. So careful, do your best not to disturb the leg, but balance on that leg. Equal balance, inside and outside of the foot. Maybe this is your tree. Shoulders back, head back. Maybe you can balance, this leg is different than the other. Maybe you can balance with your foot underneath the shin, or on a side of the shin, or above the knee. Not on the knee, my friends. Not on the knee. Above the knee, or below the knee, or toe to the floor. Or maybe you can bring the foot all the way up to, and then balance the hips. If your knee is up, your knee actually is moving forward and down, not out. Because I want my hips to be level. Sits bones level. Press the foot into the leg and the leg into the foot. So you're feeding the insertion of your head of the femur, and then add the arms. Steady gaze helps to balance. Grow your tree. And then perhaps hands back to the hips. Place the foot back down in the earth. Tadasana, gentle standing. Notice the energy. What does it feel like to be balanced? An analogy of how does it feel to be out of balance? How can you bring yourself to balance? Letting go of performance, judgment. And then make your way onto the floor. Nice work. I can't see you, but I'm going to say nice work anyway. Come on down to the ground. Come onto your back. And we'll close. Okay? So make your way onto the ground, and with your hands at your side, lower yourself down so your elbows lower. See if you can lower yourself down one vertebra at a time. Don't just plop down, but see if you can lower yourself down. And then you're onto your elbows. Extend your legs, and your head comes back. A little baby Navasana. Shoulders down the back, lift the heart chest. Active legs. Head back. Press through the ball mounds of your feet. Lift the low back, not sinking the low back. Lifting. You can use your hands underneath you. And then go ahead and bend the knees. Drop down. Draw your right knee up to the shoulder. Pavana Muktasana. Breathe. Keep your shoulders on the ground. And then extend that leg back down, straight leg. And then to bring your left leg up, ground your right heel. Extend through your right leg. So you're balancing. It's like you're balancing on that right leg. And then the left leg comes up. So keep the action in your left leg. Take hold of your right leg, sorry. So active extension in my right leg, pressing my heel out through the ball mound. Stable leg. Then draw my right leg up. Left leg up, pardon me. Pull it in. Shoulders down. Forehead level. And then invite that leg, extend it, extend it, extend it. Stretch out. Tadasana. Shavasana. Now you can let the feet roll out. Now you can let the ankles roll out from the inside out. Let your calves release from the inside out. Your knees release from the inside out. Your thighs release from the inside out. Notice if one foot drops lower than the other. Probably will. My right foot feels like it's lower, drops lower to the right side. So then extend out through the feet. Once again, active legs. And then try to balance that. Balance your bones as you're releasing from the inside out as best you can. See if your right and your left drop out evenly. Probably won't, but just give it a try. Whew, let your arms drape away from the trunk. And let the trunk release away from the arms. Adjust as best you can so you're on the full triangle of both shoulder blades. So that you want to draw the shoulder blades down the back a little bit. Adjust your pelvis so that you're as much as you can on the full pelvis, especially the top part by the lumbar spine. So shift your pelvis a little bit forward and then stretch out through the heels again, and then come back to the back of the head. Adjust the back of the head so you're evenly on the triangle of the back of the head. And then shoulder blades, sacrum, heels, 1 or 2 more times. And then let it go. Let everything go. Relax the jaw and the cheeks and the forehead. If the lips part, that's fine. Soft gaze. Drop the inner gaze to the back of the brain, the base of the skull. Tip of the tongue, barely touching the back of the teeth. And release the tongue from the tip of the tongue all the way to the root of the tongue, creating a sense of vastness in the throat. Come home to your breath then. Come home to your breath, moving freely and effortlessly through your body. You may want to sigh out some sounds, any extra energy. And then see if you can come to breathing in and out through your nose. Again, just trace the breath from the beginning of the inhalation, the middle of the inhalation, and the end of the inhalation. And the time and space before you exhale. And then see if you can trace the breath from the beginning of the exhale, the middle of the exhale, and the end of the exhale. And be present for that time and space before you begin the cycle again. And try to keenly follow the beginning and the middle and the end of the breath. Inhale, exhale, and be aware of the time and space between. And if you feel you've stabilized your concentration, you can let that go. We'll stay here in Shavasana for a couple more minutes. If you can, please give yourself this rest of just see where you can let go. Palms are soft, eyes are soft. Your palms are soft, fingers lightly curled, very receptive. Then your mind can be receptive and your heart can be soft. And I'll ring the bell 3 times to guide you out. In full disclosure, it's 4:39, pardon me, Minneapolis time. I'll give you at least 1 more minute. If you can stay a little bit longer, feel free. mind is busy, just celebrate the fact that you know your mind is busy. When you hear the bell ring 3 times, see if with each ring of the bell, just maybe you can drop a little bit deeper. Invite your inhalations to be a little bit deeper and your exhalations to be a little bit longer. And trace your breath. Watch it as it moves outwards once again. So tracing your breath, with your awareness as it percolates out once again to your fingers and to your toes. And when you feel ready, so this is just a really nice, exquisite way to come back to your normal waking consciousness and to come back to prepare for the rest of your day. So without bounding up and jolting your nervous system, this is just a really nice way to come back and gracefully move forward. So when you feel ready, you can make little micro movements with your fingers and your hands. With your head, turning your head, maybe drawing your knees up to your chest, or else I just like to roll to the side. I usually roll to the left side because my right nostril tends to be a little bit more clogged, which is my active nostril. My left nostril is my lunar side. That's nice and open. So for me, I roll to the left side. Take a few breaths there. Make a pillow with your elbow. Take a few breaths there. And then press yourself up with your upper arm. Your head and your heart comes up last. Press yourself back up to a comfortable seated position. And revisit that place that you started. If you weren't here at the beginning, establish a nice, comfortable seated position. And we're going to close with a reading from How to See by Thich Nhat Hanh. It's called No Blaming. When we grow a lemon tree, we want it to be vigorous and beautiful. But if it doesn't thrive, we don't blame the tree. We observe it in order to understand why it isn't growing well. Perhaps we have not taken care of it well enough. We know it would be odd to blame a lemon tree, and yet we blame human beings when they are not growing well. But human beings are not very different than lemon trees. If we take good care of them, they will grow well. Blaming never helps. You can let that go in one ear and out the other, or you could let it vibrate and reverberate and take that no blaming to any level that you want. But very important these days to have no blaming and no judging. Let go of judging. Everybody is suffering in some way. And in that, we're all alike. And the nature of suffering is wanting things to be different. Wanting a different outcome. Having expectations. Wanting things to be different and attachment to the way things are. That's where the suffering comes, if you look very, very deeply. So we are practicing to let go of judgments, have radical self-awareness and look within ourselves and learn to let go of judging. And we practice on ourselves. So how does it feel? Sitting back up tall again. Comfortable, yet alert. Just take another look-see inside. Feeling tone, body, positive, negative, neutral. Thoughts. Feeling tone, positive, negative, neutral. We're going past emotions, we're going past thought. Go for that feeling tone, training myself to let go of the emotions and let go of the thoughts and just go to feeling tone. Because that's something more that you can trust. And perhaps maybe you feel a little bit more lightness, less of a dense physical mass of a body, more of an energy body, perhaps. Maybe there's reverberating energetics that are stuck somewhere that you know that you might want to pay attention to in the future. Save this video if you want. You can go up to the video, click on it, and up at the top there's 3 little dots, and you can click on it and it says save this video, and you can have it for your own stash. My phone is so full up, it can't really save very much. But if I can, and then I upload it onto YouTube. So I have YouTube videos up. I try to give a description of what the main work of the class is. So, but just keep practicing and always do your best. Come back tomorrow at 3:30 if you like. Share this with yourself and with others. And I'll close with a prayer. And it's a remembrance that we are perfect. Even in seemingly imperfections, we are perfect. You are perfect. Even in seemingly imperfections, take away anything and you're still perfect. So we're all perfect, aren't we? If you are knowing, please chant along, and you can bring your hands together in front of the heart and balance yourself around the folded palms, front and back, right side, left side, hands right and left resting on each other, up and down, inside. Om Purnamada Purnamadam Purnamadachite Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamaveva Shishite. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. I dedicate the merit and the virtue gathered through this practice to the lasting happiness and well-being of all individuals. So all individuals, all beings, past, present, and future, can be happy and free from suffering and the causes and conditions of suffering. Namaste. Peace be with you. Thank you so much for for taking care of your spirit, your mind, and your body. We cannot take care of other people unless we take care of ourselves. So, see you tomorrow perhaps, and see you tonight perhaps at 8 o'clock Central Time for a half an hour of satsang meditation. Join the tribe. So, thank you. Hello, Margie. Peter Taluzzi out in California. Wahoo. Terry, Paul, Jane. Well, thank you for that compliment. That's very sweet. And you're very welcome. I'm really happy to do these videos. It gives me something to do, as well as gives me an opportunity to share these ancient teachings coming from my experience and coming from my teachers. So, thank you. And David, as always, great to see your name. John Kelly, welcome. Najmal. And anybody else who's out there who slid by me, I just want to say I love you very much. And move forward in this day with grace. Okay? Peace on. Namaste.